for Friday, September 11th, 2020. This is the Pro and Con Show, and my name is Michael James Ott, and as always, I am your host of the show. So, again, just a brief introduction, the Pro and Con Show, encouraging all of us to be better citizens by being informed of the facts, just the factual stuff, not all of the rhetoric and stuff like that, but just the facts. Who, what, where, and when. How do you get that? Well, unfortunately, it means you got to spend some extra time, and you've got to usually look at multiple sources of information, because some of the sources will just leave the story out of the news, so-called news, in their information stream. Others will underreport or not report certain factual information, and then they're almost always, because the demand is for airtime on television or for column space on the internet or newspaper or whatever. You get a few facts, the who, the what, the where, and when. That doesn't take very long to report, or very much in the way of words. So then they have to fill the void in all the information that they're trying to sell, okay, they fill it with opinion and forecast and propaganda, basically, in many cases. But anyway, so you must be a better citizen. Please be a better citizen. So today's show is Citizen Statesman. I want to talk about Citizen Statesman. I talk about this on occasion, once every other month kind of thing. What is it? What is Citizen Statesman? What am I talking about? Well, let me tell you the background, okay? So coming into the 2016 election, this was 4 years ago now, and as that process played out, okay, and in the Republican Party, Donald Trump bested multiple other Republican potential nominees and ended up becoming the Republican nominee. And then Hillary Clinton outdid Bernie Sanders and some other, but mostly Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side. And we ended up with Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump. And as I watched all of that unfold, it became more apparent to me than ever that something is wrong. Something is wrong. When you go into an election and your choices for the most important position in American government, and maybe arguably the most important position in government anywhere on the globe, your choices are Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Something is broken. Something isn't right. Because I guarantee you, and you know this, all of you know this, every single one, I don't care who you support, Democrat, Republican, Trump, Clinton, Biden, whoever, okay? All of you know this. You know people, you know them, that you would guarantee would better serve the interests of this country in the position of being president than Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or a number of other folks, Mike Pence, Kamala Harris. You know it. You know it in your heart of hearts, in your brains, in your souls. You know this is true. You know people. This is not like Michael Jordan here where, you see him on television, he's the best basketball player, but you don't know him. I mean, you know of him. You know people. You do. You do. You know people that would better serve this nation. Better, more professional, more intelligent, more committed to serving the American people, less influenced by power and money and all those kinds of things, more honor, more integrity, more leadership, better communication skills. You know them. And yet, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And now this year, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Okay? And I would argue that Mr. Biden is a better choice and generically better than Hillary Clinton, but still. And then Donald Trump is Donald Trump. And he cannot be reelected. I've said this many times. Again, not politically motivated, nothing to do with Republican versus Democrat, nothing to do with policy. That has nothing to do with it, and everything to do with who Mr. Trump is at his core and who he cares about, which is only himself, and then the fact that this early onset dementia is a clear and present danger for him, and we can't afford another 4 years of that combination. So it's broken. It's not the structure of government. Okay, the structure is sound. And you again know, if you've spent any time, if you paid any attention at all, and unfortunately some of us don't pay any attention, but for those of us that have, if you paid attention at all over your lifetime up to this point, we've had some really bad people, just lousy people in certain positions in government. And yet, government survives and continues. Okay? Better or worse in its performance, depending on who's in some of these critical positions in the government, but continues. Okay? The steady march of mostly not too bad, okay government. Okay? So the structure, this thing that they came up with in Philadelphia back in the late 1700s, where they talked about the balance of power and the checks and balances between three different significant members, so the legislative, the judicial, the executive, and those branches of government, co-sharing power, if you will, to, on the whole, prevent what is always true, which is absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the structure is good. So, and since you and I know that there are no citizens, okay, neighbors, relatives, community members, that would be better people than the people that we're putting in office, well, then guess what? We ought to put those people in office. We should get rid of the political party system. We should put that in our rearview mirror. We should get rid of all of the fundraising and the television ads and the commercials and stuff like that. And this is, by the way, it's not my idea. It was a work colleague. I was talking about the importance of getting rid of all the money in elections and so on, and standardizing stuff, and protecting the sanctity of voting and stuff by improving our voting systems and the way information it flows to voters and all this other stuff by adopting some very secure internet channels that people could use, and on and on and on. And he's like, but the candidates themselves, it should be like jury duty. And it just instantly, the moment he said those words, I knew he was right. It should be like jury duty. And I was in the military, okay? And there's only it's kind of unbelievable to me there's only a tiny, tiny percentage of us Americans that have served in the military over the last 60 years. It's a tiny percentage, almost unbelievable to me. But serve we did. And why? Because that's what needs to happen. Citizens need to serve their country to some degree, and it varies. And in the case of jury duty, okay, you get called and you're part of a jury pool, and you don't necessarily serve. You're called in there, and if they need a jury of 12 people, maybe 40 or 50 people get called to go to the courthouse that day and talk to the lawyers and talk to the judge about potentially serving on this particular court case. And then they're screened, right? They're asked questions about their past and what they know about the case, and do they have any preconceptions and so on. Well, the whole exact same thing would happen with elections. So every, whatever it is, few years, we would randomly select people just like jury duty, and way more people than we need. And then we would start screening them just like we do for jury duty. And some people right away would be told, now, we don't need you. But step by step, we would identify, the better people, the people that we thought, you and I thought, who's doing the screening? We are. We're looking at these people's profiles and maybe their standard questionnaires and things that they have to answer, and we look at them. We look at their responses and their history and their education and so on, and recommendations from friends or whatever. We look at all that and we start saying, okay, these are the better people. These are the better people. And then we start getting it to a smaller group, and then the rest of the people, okay, you're don't worry about it. You're dismissed from not jury duty, but in this case, duty in government. But then the other people remain. And as you go and the number of people remaining, you start screening them more. Maybe there's even psychological testing that they undergo. Speaking in public, town halls, all these kinds of things. And then so step by step you keep screening, and eventually you get to a place where there's a small number of candidates, just like there is today, and you vote. We all, again, the final screening is to vote on some of the best candidates that have been identified through the screening process. And then ultimately, whoever wins those elections has to serve. So, and how do you do all this? Well, you have to have an amendment to the Constitution. There's no other way to do it. I wish that there was, but there's no way that the current two political party system is going to support any of this. It's up to us. And so actually I see that back in May of 2019, so a year and a half ago now, coming up on a year and a half ago, I took a stab, again, based on conversations with lots of folks, I took a stab on writing an amendment to the Constitution. And it talks about, the secure systems where the information about the candidates would be housed, and the candidates themselves could then validate that the information is correct, and so on, and how the screening process would take place, the timing of all that. And the other thing that's important is the oath to serve. And so if you've been in the military, you take an oath to serve. If you've been in elected office, you've taken an oath to serve. And we would want everyone that serves in our government to reaffirm, I would say, and that's in the draft amendment, it says yearly. And I would even argue that this oath of office, if you will, should be readily visible in the offices of anyone that holds a position in our government. And so this was my stab at an oath of office. I affirm and embrace the tenets of freedom, equality, and fairness, and the associated inherent duties incumbent upon me to serve the citizens of this nation founded upon these pillars. I shall serve and protect the people of the United States in totality against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to the best of my abilities. From this day forward, I shall not accept gifts, future employment, positions of authority, or other forms of compensation or other items of value from any source that could be perceived to influence my service to the people. When or where there is a conflict in interests, I will publicly declare them and serve the people holistically over my own interests or the specialized interests of coalitions, governments, political parties, industries, or industries tied to or associated with me. I acknowledge and embrace that service to the citizens of the country is a solemn and noble commitment. My failure to sufficiently uphold the tenets of freedom, equality, and fairness, or to otherwise fail to serve the people with integrity and compassion, can be grounds for Congress or the Department of Justice, representing the people, to charge me with treason. The penalties for treason being harsh, including the penalty of death, if so ordered by a jury of my peers. We can fix what's wrong with this country. We can set a new example. I call it Democracy 2.0, citizen statesman. We can fix all the ills that are before us. Put the Donald Trumps and the Hillary Clintons and the Joe Bidens and all the other lackluster people that we've had in the presidency, in our Congress, in the Senate, on the Supreme Court. We can put it all behind us. But we have to do it together. For the Pro and Con Show, my name is Michael James Ott. And until the next show, bye for now.